How's your kidneys treating you?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and we're going to go ahead and start the circulation portion of the meeting. We'll start with introductions. I'm Cassandra Stokes from Peoria Public.
Martha Troxel, Rails RSA.
Wendy Adams Good, RSA.
Sarah Nacelin, Galesburg Public.
Nicole Fondolette.
Roxy Clausen, Morton.
Linda Yoder, Morton. Kim Dvorak, Pekin.
Elizabeth Wiles, Henry.
Rebecca Normal. Karen McClure, Normal.
Maria Garcia, Peoria Public. RSA. Nan Gray, RSA. Brenda Bierman, RSA.
All right. Workflows 3.5.1 enhancement.
Hand those out. In fact, I need to unhand this one out too.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start out by covering some of the new circulation enhancements that we have available in, since we did the upgrade last month. So we do have, for those online, we do have the enhancement document out on the RSA webpage. Go out to the webpage, go under RSA Board and Committee Groups, under Circulation Committee, and the documents we're going to be using are down here under documents for the July 14th, 2016 meeting. So, like I said, what we're going to start with first are the enhancements. And one of the enhancements that we have with the new software is we now have an option to be able to collect a patron signature. So in the enhancement document that you have right there, it does give you a little information about that. One of the things that you do have to have right now is it only works with the Topaz Signature Gem signature pads. So we have one right here, so you can see what it looks like. Looks like this right here. You probably see these things all the time when you're like in the doctor's office, you know, and you're always using these to you know, whether just in for whether your insurance is going to cover whatever it is and that type of stuff. So this would attach to your computer. There's 3 different wizards that you can use to capture a signature. One's in user registration, modify user, copy user. Let me give you what it looks like here. It is a little helper that is right up at the top of the screen. So let me look up. Oops. I don't think I did anything here. So if you have it enabled, what you see is right up here at the top, it looks like a little signature pad with a pen or pencil or something above it. So if you wanted to capture a signature, you would just click on that, and it opens up a box where it says capture a signature from a pad. And it starts out, and it gives you a little message here, and it says the patron is reading the agreement page. Now, there is an agreement that came with this software. And the thing about the agreement, and this is something we need to discuss a little bit, is this agreement cannot be customized per library. So the agreement that is on the pad, if you're going to use it, is going to have to be the same no matter what library it is. And I had put on the one sheet exactly what the wording says, but what happens is as the patron is looking at this, and they're going to be reading it, and you can look at this afterwards if you want to see exactly how it works. And it says, I understand I am responsible for this card and all materials checked. And then they have a little arrow box that they click. Checked out on this card until this card is reported lost or missing. I am further responsible for any charges that may result from late return, loss, or damage to materials borrowed. And then they have a option here where they can click a check mark that says they accept this, or they can actually click an X and decline it. So I mean, if I click X right here, it's going to say across here the patron declined the agreement. So, and I could close this right here. But we're going to try do this again, and we're not going to decline it this time. So, again, I'm reading it. I accept it. At the point that I'm accepting it, it changes to patron assigning the pad. So, whose card was this?
Patrick has terrible handwriting.
He does, doesn't he? I always hate to write on these things. And when I'm done, I click this check mark. Yeah, that is terrible. And I'm going to save the signature, and now it appears on the record underneath the patrons where a photograph would go right there. So, show you what mine looks like here. This is mine.
You are much better.
Under my alias, Patrick. So, if you have a photograph, you've got your photo there, and then you've got a signature there also. So, I guess, do any of you think you could see yourself possibly using this?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Okay. And, you know, this is kind of a generic, I'm signing up for a library card message. I mean, are you happy with that? Would you like to maybe, the ones that think they're going to use it, get together and come up with a different message you think would be more usable? I know we did talk in our subcommittee group about even putting an addition onto the end of something like, and you know, and agree to abide by all the policies of the library or something in case you wanted to use it like for an internet agreement or something like that. So, and I don't know how everybody feels. Does anybody have any feelings about it one way or another, or what you think? Are you happy with what it says right now? You're not happy, Rebecca. I can.
Would like to add the internet agreement.
So something about the internet.
Some people don't check out materials, they just use it. For that purpose, yeah, use the internet.
Wouldn't mind something along the lines of, and I agree to follow all the policies of the local library or something like, because I would use this to get rid of my applications altogether.
Any other thoughts?
Question, how much does the Topaz machine cost?
You know, I should have gone out and looked again before. I'm thinking it was
It was $249.
$249. And what you would have to do is there's just it's a helper, so you would just go out into workflows. You know, if you decide that you won't want to go ahead and use it, you need to contact us and let us know. You just go out into workflows, turn on the helper, and then there's just a small software program or hardware program that you have to load to make it work, which, to be honest with you, you'd bring it up and say run and it's done. You know, so it's a very small program that goes on to make it work. And voila, there it is, ready for you to use. So don't you already have some kind of a signature pad? Is it the Topaz one?
I'm not sure.
And that's one of the things we kind of wanted, because Kendall had said he thought that you guys had one, and although this is okay, this is, you know, what the Cersei information said the Topaz one was the one to use, but we didn't know if maybe possibly another one could be used with it or not. So if you guys are not using the Topaz one, maybe we'll have to see if we can get it to work or not. So, yeah, so, okay. Well, we will come up with some kind of an appendage to the message maybe so that we can try to cover everything so that it will be a little more generic and can be used for multiple purposes than just to register for a library card. So, okay. One of the other enhancements that is available with this software is now we can increase the font size, which I know a lot of people are happy to see. This is something we've had requests for from a long time, is can't you make this bigger so we can see it better? So how you get to this is you go into Preference, into Desktop, and go into Font Sizes. One thing to know, since we're sitting right here on this screen, well, I'll wait till the next screen, but you've got where you can change the font size for the menu, or you can change the font size for the text in the window. So we're going to go to the one here for the menu. And as you see, you can make this pretty big, although the bigger you make it, I think the more your screen's going to get smaller. One of the things that I found personally myself, not so much that I made it bigger, but I made it bolder. And when you make it bolder, I think it's a little bit easier to read too. So right now this is larger, but if you turn this to bold, click OK, and click OK. I don't think that does it so good on that, but let me go to the other one. Window text. So if I go in and search for something, I'm going to look at this in a minute anyway. As you see already right here where it says Index and Library, that's bolder than it was. And you can see it as you're looking at like the list, the display list over here, the tree, that everything is bolder on there. So you might want to play around with it a little bit if you are if you don't feel like your font is set the way that you would like for it to be set at your library. Now, one of the things to know when you are setting the font here is when you are using font, especially for text in workflows, you do need to make sure that you are selecting the Unicode, the Arial Unicode as the actual font that you're using. Using a font that has Unicode in it will assure that if you're pulling up something that has diacritics in it, you'll actually see the diacritics. If you don't do that, you end up with, sometimes you see displays that have like maybe an @ sign or a little funny looking box or something where a diacritic should be. So having the Unicode makes your diacritics display correctly. And one of the things that I recently ran into is I was doing training at a local school, and they are no longer using Microsoft Office as their office software. They are using a Libre, and there is no Arial Unicode available as a selection of a font in that. So if you are going to some kind of an open source Office software product, just be aware that Unicode is not part of the font that is delivered with that. There might be a font somewhere that is delivered that can do the foreign language, and I think that's one thing to find out if you are using something besides Microsoft Office. You can go out and actually purchase the Arial Unicode font. When Kendall first looked at it, when we were talking about this, it was like over $300 to do that. He did find a link to something that was a free one, but we're not sure what else might come with it on your computer if you downloaded the free one, you know. So I don't know if anybody here, are you, any of you considering leaving Microsoft Office? Now, see, this morning when we talked about it a little bit, you know, Elizabeth said, you know, she could possibly see that happening sometime in the future at her library.
If Microsoft keeps going down the line and becomes subscription only, that impacts the budget every year, and we don't necessarily get new computers every year, and so they haven't gone completely that way yet, so we'll plug it along with it. But
it seems to me like maybe schools are doing it more than, I think it's probably just a money saving on the school's part that they are going to something besides the Microsoft Office. But just to be aware, if you do, you may have trouble with diacritics displaying in your text in workflow. So Another thing that we have added, which probably a lot of you have noticed right now, is that there is a column now here called call number. So I don't have anything checked out right now. Or as you're checking things out, it's going to actually put that call number there so that you can see what the call number is for the item. That's also available if you go out into like display user and look for the information out here. That the call number is listed here too. I thought that was kind of a neat one. Another thing for the libraries that put patron photos in, the patron photo size has been increased a little bit. It's not quite as small as it is. You see this one right here that I took last year or the year before when I was doing training. I think at Shinoa was where I was when I was doing training, and I was showing them how to use it. I took that one right there. Now I have another one, although of course I'm sitting a little bit closer to the camera when I took this one, so. But as you see, it is bigger than that one right there. So unfortunately, it's not going to go back and change the ones that are already in there to a bigger size. But anything you take from now on will actually be the bigger size. So and I don't know how many of you in here are using. How many are you in here using the photos? Anybody? Just Galesburg? Okay. All right. Well, you might find that helpful to be able to see people a little bit better. And then one of the other things is the increase, or the library display has been changed when you are looking at the owners or the results of a search. I sit here and then I can't think of anything to look at. Previous to this change, let me find somebody that's got a lot on it. Previous to this change, and working part-time at Washington, this was always a very big problem, is that when you logged on as Washington and you were in workflows and a patron came up and asked if you had a book, and you would look and it would say, no, you did not have it. And then if you wanted to see whether the branch library had it, you had to scroll all the way down to the W's to see whether the branch library owns it or not. Well, now with the change in the display, what will happen is it will put the branch library, any library that has a branch, it will put the branch library and the main library together. So if Peoria was looking for their items and they were logged on as Peoria, then all of them would be grouped together instead of up until now, Peoria Main, if you logged in as Peoria Main, that would be at the top, and then you would have to scroll down to the P's to see what the other branches have. So this is, for libraries that have branches, this is a wonderful enhancement. Especially, like I say, for the ones that their branch is down in the W's, it's a real wonderful enhancement. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to move along to the next section called Circulation Topics. And one of the topics that we are going to start with is the weekly periodical edition problem. And I'm sure that, because I know lots of times it's circulation staff who is actually adding the new issues of the magazines. And this is only for people that are not using the serials module. If you're using the serials module, this doesn't seem to be a problem. But what has happened since we had our upgrade is that it appears, and we're not sure whether it is we reached like a size limit or if it's something that had to do with the upgrade to the software, but adding weekly periodicals has become a real problem for most libraries. So One of the things I want to make sure that you realize is this is not something that RSA can fix. This is something that's going to have to be fixed by CERC Dynex, not RSA. So since we sent the problem to CERC Dynex, they have sent it to their developers to try to see if they can find a solution for what's going on. If it's a quick and easy fix, it could be in a patch, and we could just load the patch and everything will work fine. If it's not a quick, easy fix, it could possibly even have to wait till the next upgrade. So just to let you know, we will let you know when we know any more information, but right at this time, it's still at the developers at CERC. So there is a workaround that has been discovered by Aaron at Washington showed me this workaround, and I did send out an email to everybody with that workaround in it. Erica created a, I'm sorry. Erica created a cheat sheet last night, and I had already created the document that I put out where I just included the email that I had sent out to everybody on how to do the workaround. So Erica has created another document that has a separate document that you can use. One of the things that's really important anytime that you're working with workflows is, and it's one of the first things that Erica put in her list, is just to make sure that you have your maximum response size set correctly out in workflows. And you will find that by going up here to Preference, going into Desktop, and into Desktop Setup. This, when you load the software in originally on your computer, this defaults to, I think it's like 3 million. And sometimes I've seen it, if you upgrade, it will change it back to 3 million also. So make sure this is set at 5 million. All you need to do is click the little gadget right here. Just go in and change the 3 to a 5 right here and click OK. What this does is, if you don't do that, when you have something that has a lot of issues like Time magazine, you're not going to see every library that owns that magazine if you don't have that set to 5 million. It will just give you a partial list of who owns the magazine. So first thing to do is make sure you've got your maximum response size set correctly. So we're going to go here and look at Time again. And of course, the weekly magazines take a while because there's so many issues attached to them. So, oh, I'm in the wrong wizard. Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. So let's say we're going to be adding a copy to Washington's Sunnyland branch. So I'm going to add a call number. This would automatically default to whoever to your library here, but I'm going to change it to that library. And up to this point, everything looks like it's working the way it normally works. You can click OK right here. And sometimes, so what it's done at this time is, as you see, it has a call number up at the top. It has all kinds of information down here. If you try to save this at all, what it's done is it's actually pulled information from another record into here for you. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to go in and change that information that's appeared on the screen, because what you've done is you've overridden the record that you already had saved in there. So. And lots of times it does that. Save. No. you're going to end up with this information over here. Oh, it's closed it on me again. It does take a few steps to do this, but at least it's a way to work around and end up being able to go ahead and add your issue instead of your issues just sitting there, waiting for a eventual fix. You would just go in here, highlight this auto-generated ID over here, and just start at the top of here and just fill out this information in here. You can actually see that there are, at times, I think Washington was one of them, that people have tried to do this, and they've ended up with the XX, or the default call numbers, and then they're attached to the bottom. So if you'd already happen to have done this and you have these XX call numbers here, you can always come over here and use these to put in your next issue of your magazine if you want to. If not, they can be deleted out of there. So, do you have any questions about that? Do we have anybody that's not having any problems with the weekly magazines? I think everybody that's doing is having problems, so. Yeah. Another thing that I just wanted to show everybody is about the missing user. And I know when you don't have, when you can't find things on the shelf, or you've got something on your pick list you can't find, what you are supposed to do is go out and mark it missing. Then after a while, there's a lot of things out there in the catalog that's marked missing. You really need to go in periodically and clean those up. If there's something that has been missing for a while, you're probably going to want to go ahead and delete it out of the catalog. You can have a report that's run that shows you what's missing. You can also find missing things by going out into circulation and looking up the missing user. Display user. And all you're going to do is type in missing right here. And this will list everything that's been checked out or that has been marked missing.
So everything that's like on the pick list that's been marked missing, as long as we're logged in by Morton.
Well, I'll show you how you can limit it so you can just see Morton's, because what it's going to pull up is everything that is everybody. So when it pulls up, you'll see how many that are actually out there. There's a lot out.
Okay.
And this is just one way that you can easily maybe go in and see what you have, and especially the ones that have been in there for a long time that are older, you might want to go ahead and clean them out. But it's a big list, so it takes a little bit to pull it up. So. Okay, there are 15,588 items out in the database that are marked missing. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's all. So when you get to the screen, if you get down here to go down to the very bottom of the screen, you can then put in, I'm going to pick on you now. Oh, come on. What are you doing to me? So, well, I ended up with Midwest Central. But all it does then is it limits to which ones are owned by your library. So Midwest Central has 4 there. So it's going to do Morton.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll see what you got, Linda.
There should be a bunch.
472 is what you have in there. So
Because we get tons of requests and they're not available for whatever reason.
yeah.
We don't want it to keep coming back.
Yeah, so what is kind of nice is it does have this column right here that says date charged, so it shows when it was marked missing. So you have some that's been out there since 2011.
Right.
So you might want to check into them, see if you can actually find them on the shelf. If not, maybe some of these need to be cleared out here. But because there's like 15,000, I think it's something that libraries probably look into and start working on them and getting them out of the database. So.
Goodness. Martha,
Yes.
did you do that with claims return? Court claims return?
I don't know what the
claims return isn't a,
It's not a, yeah, so it's not a user, is it? I don't think you can, no. But is it something you could run a report for? Everything marked claims returned or not?
That's the thing, though, is because they don't clear that even if it's been returned, it could still be listed as claims returned. There's no easy way to get claims returned that still actually haven't been returned.
They're actually active claims returned, so.
Does everyone use the claims return thing in workflows?
No.
Okay, I was like, we just have a claims return card we check things out too, because we never can get the other thing to work well.
A lot of people don't use it.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah. Mostly because basically all it's doing is stopping a fine. It's not really doing anything else. And keeping a count of how many claims returned a person has. And that's what causes the problem, right? Because it's keeping the count. So, yeah, so. No, I'm sorry, Rebecca. I don't think we can do that here. But this one at least is something that libraries can work on and possibly clear up. So. I also did want to talk about a lost item, so let me get back here so I can get to. I just kind of want to review the procedures for what to do if an item has been sent to your library, a patron has lost it, it's not your item, and you need to have the patron pay for it and send the money on to the library that owns it. So we do have a policy. It is out on our policy section of the workflows documentation training. It's called Overdue Notices and Billing Policy for Extended Circulation Items, which is what we called these at that time. So number 3 on here says, if an item is never returned and the patron pays for the item, send a check or money order, no cash, debit or credit cards accepted, made out to the item owning library with the item number and the patron's library card ID. You send it to the owning library through the mail, not through delivery. Put a note on the patron's card that the item has been paid for, and make sure you do not discharge the item. When the owning library gets the check and it clears, it will discharge the item and remove the note from the patron's card. When a patron pays through self-pay or e-pay, the receiving library will be responsible for reimbursing the owning library. I've had several libraries lately say that the library that actually accepted the money went ahead and discharged the item. So make sure you're not discharging the item, because we want to make sure that however that item is being paid for is actually cleared and the item can be removed for the patron's account. So just make sure, and like I say, this is out in the policy section of workflows documentation and training under circulation. So, and then I did want to once again review a little bit on patron entry. When you're entering a patron into the database, registering them. So one of the things that we still seem to be having problems with is that when you are entering a patron's name that has any kind of punctuation in the name, we are still having a lot of people putting that punctuation out there. One of them that I found the other day that shows this problem. And what happens is, if somebody enters the name without the punctuation, somebody enters the name with the punctuation, we actually end up with 2 lists. So if you're out there searching to see if somebody already has a library card, you may completely miss the fact that they have the library card because you're looking in the first part of how it's done, and then somebody's done it another way. So I'm going to give you an example of a library name that starts with Saint. Any library name that starts with Saint. So as you see right here, we have a list of several names here that start with Saint with a period after it. But actually, we have another list back that starts, I think probably on this one, where Saint does not have a period after it. So just remember, if you're putting punctuation in a name and and your staff's going out there to check to see if the patron has previously had a card or not, you may be missing it because of the fact that somebody entered it incorrectly. So let's make sure when we are entering names that there are no punctuations put in the names anywhere, so. Okay. Then it has a comma. Well, that's true. You're right. It should be just ran together.
The problem with that, though, is that when you want to use the information you get out of here to generate mailing information for people, then you have to go in physically and correct everything.
So some of them get really tough.
Yeah, you can't send them out with their St. Clair all one word.
Does everybody feel that? I mean, yeah, see, I think that's the way we have the standard, so we just really need to kind of, to keep it that way, so.
Space there, you can get by with that, but
Yeah.
no punctuation and no space.
No punctuation and no space is the policy, so, yeah,
That makes
so.
it really hard to use the data. I'm sure that's
And one thing that I usually do too is I'll search by birth date.
Yeah, you can do that, so.
I'll put the person's name in, especially if it's a female, because, you know, our last names can change. I caught a couple. But I always search the name, and then I go in and put the birth date in.
That's a good suggestion, so.
A lot of libraries not putting in.
Yeah, there are a lot that don't, but, yeah.
Is that one of the, that's not one of the,
That is one of the, what exactly does it say? I think
I mean,
it
that's
says,
not one that we have a policy that you're supposed to put.
I think it says
I think we do have.
yeah, it does say the date of birth is supposed to be there, yeah.
Yeah, I keep running into lots of them.
Let me know when you're running into some of them. We'll go ahead and contact them and
It's nowhere on any of the, like on our registration cards, it wasn't on our card. So we penciled it in and told people to ask for it now, but I know we have lots of them out there.
well, I know there's times where there's some people that just don't want to give it, and that case, I mean, if somebody came in and said they didn't want to give it, Nick, would you?
I take it off the driver's license.
I do too.
Oh, really? Okay. I guess that's one way of doing it.
Have to show me ID.
That's what you do too, Sarah?
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a good way of doing it.
It would be nice if you could press save if you didn't have all the things filled in correctly, just like a lot of internet forms, you know?
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, and that's one of them. I mean, you know, if you don't put, there are some things on there that, you know, require an override on it.
Never was really a big deal until we got rid of Social Security numbers. Back when we used to track by that, we used to find tons of patrons that were changing their names and things like that, but date of birth is the only thing we have now, so it's kind of frustrating when they're gone.
True. Okay, and another thing that I did want to tell you that we have done is when something is checked out to a no transit user, and I don't know how many of you guys actually use the no transit user. A no transit user is what we recommend if for some reason you do have something on your pick list and you don't want to send it out for some reason, whether it's, you know, maybe the school's going to be doing some kind of a history section on castles or something like that, and you know you want to keep all your castle books in the library and somebody requests one, we suggest that you create a no transit user and just check those items out to that no transit user, and then the items can actually go back on your shelf and just sit there checked out to the no transit user. Up until, I think it was in December, when anything was checked out to the transit user, if you actually came in and looked like on this screen right here where you looked in this display tree, it looked like it was on the shelf. The status of it wasn't anything besides on the shelf. So Kendall and I discussed it, and we changed the status to no transit. So anything checked out to a no transit user now shows it's no transit. We had a patron that was, well, not a patron, but a library that had placed something on hold. There were only 2 libraries that owned it. And it wasn't, I mean, it had been on hold for a while, and they weren't getting it, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, one of the libraries was one of them that did not it was either local holds only or something on that item type. And the other library, it looked like it was sitting right on the shelf. And, you know, I went out and looked at all their parameters and everything, and it looked like it should be, you know, going out to patron. Couldn't figure out what was going on. And then finally went in and did some more searching and saw that although it did not show me that, it was checked out to the no transit user, and that's why it wasn't, you know, the hold wasn't being filled, because one didn't loan it and the other one had checked it out to the no transit user. So now this is going to make it a little bit clearer if you're out looking for things that it has been checked out to no transit, and that's why maybe it's not coming. So. Okay. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about teacher cards. And I don't know how many of your libraries actually have teacher cards. So how many in this room use teacher cards? So, okay. Well, it was brought to my attention, and it was something that was out on the director's website, that if a teacher does not live in your school district, you should not be issuing teacher cards to them. So. What the state library has said is that for any person that does not live in your school district that you would like to give them a teacher card, there's two things or one of two possibilities is they have to pay a non-resident fee if they don't live in your district, or they have to, you and your public library and the school library has to enter into one of those intergovernmental agreements, so that then according to the state library, then it's okay to give them a teacher card. So just to let you know that. So if any of you guys are issuing teacher cards, you may want to rethink, you know, what you're doing, and maybe let your teachers know that you're not going to be able to get the free card anymore. So if you have any questions about that, you can talk to Veranda up at Rail. She is the one that put out the information about it, and she will be happy to talk to you about it. So.
Okay, the last one about enter into an intergovernmental agreement
Between the public library and the school.
as to who's going to pay for what.
An intergovernmental agreement, Kendall, you may want to chime in on this. It's an agreement that actually there is a form. It has to be approved by the state library too, doesn't it, Kendall, or not?
No. Ours,
Not really?
no, it's between the two boards of the two groups.
The two groups.
Rhonda will send you one.
Peoria's,
150 has one.
We're doing it with
Right.
District 1.
With
Right.
Peoria Library.
And how,
Because that was the example they sent us.
yeah, how I've been setting it up in the system, and if you have one of these, let me know, please. So Peoria, Pekin, Galesburg.
they can't.
I don't know.
Kendall, could you get up here where they can hear you a little bit?
Oh, I see.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so how I set these intergovernmental agreements up in the system, I need to see the paperwork, because for legal purposes, I have to see that there is I believe the state library's wording was transfer of monetary value. So basically, I think like in Peoria's case, the school will bring in an author and the public library can get a free session or a free whatever. Material transfer value, hey, what great intergovernmental agreement is fine. So then what I do is I set up a patron type. It's for Peoria, I think it's P0 student. For Pekin, it's probably PK_student. Those user profiles are good for 1 year. They expire on, I believe, August 14th of every year. The idea being that the kid can use the card through the summer. When school starts, they have to recertify if they're still an out-of-district or however it's working. And I also need a list of all of the schools where you would possibly be registering a student. And I will put those into the system under configuration. I believe it is user profile, user category 7, I think. Ooh, good guess. So under user category 7, I will put you know, the first 2 digits of your library, and then as close as I can get to spelling out the school name, so it sort of makes sense, and then I'll send you a list of what I did. So when you register a student, you register them with your student profile. We then need to build circ rules in the circ map for that. So the cards are good for a year. User category 7 is set to the school that the student belongs to, and that way you can run stats. So you can find out in total how many students check things out. If you want to know by school, the individual school, how many checkouts per school were done, you can do that. If you're putting the age of the student in, we can run stats based on their age, whatever that user cat 3, 2, what's the age one? Yeah, age. There you go. So we could run it based on that. I mean, it just gives us ways to run some statistics if you're wondering who's doing what, how the cards are being used. And the cards are full-on public library cards. They've got all the same privileges everybody else does. We just need to set up circ rules for them and giving them their own patron profile, and then filling out the schools when you're registering the students gives you all the ability to do all the stats. Now I'm tired.
Don't be tired yet.
I had to pull that out of my brain.
No notes, did you? You're going to be talking again in a few minutes. So like I said, I don't know how many of you need to rethink it, but just to let you know that that is what came from the state library. So. Okay. Now we're going, I have a new section I put in here called discussion topics, because we have a couple of discussion topics that I would like to discuss today and just get feedback from everybody. These are things that were, the first one was actually from the Circulation Policy Subcommittee group that we discussed this one, and the second one was something that has come up since then that we would like to discuss a little bit. So the first one is, we kind of would like to know how libraries are handling this, if this happens to you, and what we think maybe the best procedure is to handle this. So the first one is, say you sent a 4-piece DVD set to, let's say Eureka sent a 4-piece DVD set to Washington. Washington checked it back in. When they were checking it back in, they didn't notice that maybe one of the DVDs were missing. Now the DVD has actually been put in transit back to Eureka. It gets to Eureka and there's a missing DVD in there. Okay, our question is, what do you do next? Do you contact the patron? Do you contact the library? Because it is no longer on the patron's record, because it has been put in transit. So we kind of would like to know how libraries are handling that.
I just had this happen. And I went in, got the patron's PID number, contacted the patron, and told them if they could just return it to their home library, and that home library was sent to us, which is what happened. And in the story, we were all happy.
I had one in the not too distant past where it was very complicated. And I think we sent an empty case, and then she pulled the DVD out, and she had the wrong one. And I called the library on the other end because the patron came and reported it to us, and it was still in transit. It hadn't even gotten to the other library yet. So I kind of preemptively contacted them and said, "This is coming. We know about this. We have your DVD in hand right here. So if we can just get the stuff back, we will send you your DVD."
That, I mean, do most of you, I guess the question is, if it came to you, would you contact the patron, or would you contact the library and ask them to contact the patron, their patron?
We usually contact the library, because I think we feel like it would be confusing to call a patron and be like, "Hi, we're not your home library, but we have all these questions for you." We don't want to throw them off too much. We usually call the home library and ask them to contact people.
I would probably call the home library at least first to see if it did come back in intermediate, and I, if you would like me to call the patron, I'm more than happy to do that, but.
I guess since I don't have a problem, I just go right to doing it. And when I talked to the patron, I did say, you checked out this, which was Pure Public Library through your library, but such and such, and as we were talking, and I said, just take it to your home library and they'll send it on to us. But I'm one of them ones that just...
I had one recently, though, that when I looked into it, there was a note on the card that made it sound like the home library had already contacted the patron, and the patron was waiting to hear from me. So I called the patron, and they had no idea what was going on. It was very confusing. They were very, very angry. So now I'm going to continue to call the home library first, I guess.
I call both. I call the patron who brought something back to our library, and I tell them, you brought an item back, something is missing from it. So, like if it's a movie, why don't you check your DVD machine, bring it back here, and then I call the other library and tell them that.
But what if it was yours and it came back to you with a missing part from, say, like...
Yeah, because if it's my patron, I just...
Henry, I mean,
yeah.
If it wasn't checked out at your library, it was checked out at another library and came back to your library, would you call that patron even if it wasn't checked out at your library? Okay.
What's the underlying problem? I mean, if
Well,
it's solved one way or
I guess maybe it is, and I didn't know if, because I've had people say, well, what are we supposed to do is basically what it is, what are we supposed to do? So I guess maybe whatever works best for you is maybe how I should answer it is, whatever works best for you. But I think what Cassandra says is very important is that you say, if you are calling another library's patron who checks something out, is to make sure you say, you did not check this out here. You checked it out at such and such a library, you expect to do it, but yes, Ms. Wendy.
Most of them coming online say they would contact the library. That's what Lillian Evans additionally says, that by contacting the library, you let them know that they did miss something when they were checking it in.
It's like giving a slap on the hand.
I mean, I guess if it's my item, let's say, so like Morton sends me something, you're sitting next to me, that's fine. Morton sends me something that's missing my disc. If I don't call Morton, and I just call the patron's going to walk in with the disc for Morton, and Morton's not going to have any idea. So I either have to call the patron and Morton, or I could just call Morton and have Morton to call their patron and deal with it. I think that's kind of what some of the discussion at our subcommittee meeting was, is how to narrow the workflow so we're not having to call I don't know.
When we put our units in, we put in the number of pieces they have in them.
Yeah, that's no guarantee, though.
Yeah.
You have to at least override it
This is true.
to bring it back in. So, I mean, at that point then, it becomes the library that collected it that did not do it correctly in the first place, because they should have stopped it right there.
But not everybody puts the pieces on, so,
Well, that's the way ours are.
Yeah.
So in our case, I would call the library, because they were the ones that should have stopped it before it came back to us.
A lot of us try not to use, or I mean, at least it seems like a lot of us don't use associated materials just because with the self-check.
Self-check.
You can't ever check out anything on a self-check with associated materials, so it's...
Well, then I guess probably what I will basically say is, you can do it either way, whichever way works out best for you,
Is it confusing though when, with the lost things, it's the charging library, it's, contacting patrons on overdues and lost items? Is it confusing, I guess, to have a policy that goes one allows you to do either one, and another policy that says it's charging library?
Well, the one about the bills and the lost is actually a policy. This is not a policy.
But that's what I'm saying.
This is
confusing to do it one way with one thing and...
Well, something maybe we want to take back to the committee and talk to a little bit more about it. So, yeah, but okay. All right, well, just kind of wanted to know how people were doing that. This next one, Kendall's going to be part of this conversation, and we are going to be talking about and I'm throwing your name out there, Nick, so that, because you're the one that can explain this better than I can, but with a lot of our libraries, it seems like we're going away from allowing holds on everything to now we're starting to go the other direction and start limiting a lot of things that we have holds on. So Nick has come up with a few questions that he would like to have a discussion on about what to do, and then Kendall's going to have something that may help a little bit with what we're talking about. But you want to throw out one of your scenarios, Nick, so that we can...
So, like, part of the question is, I mean, for the...
Nick,
Microphone, sorry.
need you to come up.
Yeah, you have to sit at least up,
Or
up with, sit with Wendy.
Sit with Wendy.
Everyone was too much.
They made me move. Other people got to move too now.
Sorry.
I don't want to move. Just sit here. It'll be okay.
Wendy doesn't bite hard.
Really.
Okay, so part of the questions were, I mean, per the RSA policy and the Illinois code, if you don't loan a certain type of item out, you can't borrow that item from another library. So the question, like some of my questions are, how are other libraries handling this? I mean, for us, back when it was like normal didn't loan out certain item types, and we didn't get reserves from normal that transits from normal that often, so it wasn't that big of a deal when if we miss it and we don't like unfill that hold and it gets sent there and it's then has to get sent back. That wasn't that big a deal. With it being a lot of libraries closer to us that we send a lot of items to, we're going to have items like going to a library and then they're not supposed to give it to their patrons and they're going to send it back. So I wanted to know how some libraries were dealing with that, and what are they like? What are we? See, now I'm trying to remember all my questions. It's like
Somebody walks into your library.
Yes.
A library that doesn't check the item out or doesn't allow holds on the item and wants to place a hold on your item, what do you tell them?
Mm-hmm.
And then conversely, if your patron walks into a library that doesn't allow non-local holds on an item, what does that library tell your patron?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the whole, like, the fact that, like, I mean, yeah, I guess that's much succincter than I am.
I guess the first part is, what do libraries normally do if you end up with requests on your pick list from libraries that you know don't loan, say, like new items? Do you just go ahead and fill them anyway if you loan new items, or do you not fill them, or what do you normally do?
Some libraries still send it to us, even though we don't send new items.
But the policy says if they send it to you, you're supposed to return it and take the hold off and return it. So, yeah, So. Do you go ahead and send it anyway and just let the library deal with it that doesn't loan that item type, or do you not send it to them to start with? Nobody.
And the problem is that there are now, all of a sudden, there's been kind of a group, not a group, it wasn't like a concerted effort of libraries. Several libraries all in the same time frame are starting to either change their rules or think about changing their rules. And so it's not, you can't remember in your head anymore who is and is not.
Normal and DVDs was easy.
Yeah.
But now, yeah.
Now it's getting a lot more confusing. So as background for our discussion, I will tell you what the system can and cannot do. So there's two ways to set up a system from scratch. Number one is everybody shares user profiles, which is the way we go, so that a user can walk into any library and the items will check out correctly. That means all of the libraries can have their own circulation rules and their own check out to juveniles or not check out to juvenile rules. But what happens when you share user profiles, you cannot limit a user from a particular library from placing a hold in the catalog on anything, essentially, because somebody's going to loan that item, so the hold is going to be allowed. The other way to set up the system, which is the way we did not go, and you will see why, is you give every library their own user profile. The problem with that is when Nick's patron walks into Peoria or Peoria's patron walks into Fond du Lac, your patron does not check out correctly in that library because we can't build a circ map that can handle all of the different permutations of users in RSA. So the libraries, to make holds work, which you could make holds work correctly if everybody had their own user profile, you would have to say, in my library, a book checks out this way, period. Juveniles, we don't care. Sorry, it's going to either check out to everybody or not. That, when we set the system up, no one wanted to deal with that because people wanted, DVDs or whatever to not check out to juveniles. The only way to make that happen is to have shared profiles. So, what in effect happens? Library A loans everything. Library B loans some things. Doesn't matter what you are or aren't loaning. It just A loans everything, B loans only some things. Library A's patron goes in the catalog, sees an item they want, and hits place hold. The catalog, the system goes, will anyone who is attached to that record fill the hold? If yes, the hold is placed. Now, according to RSA's policies, that's fine because Library A is loaning everything out. Patron from Library B, who doesn't loan some things out, goes into the catalog and says, I want this thing. And it happens to be something that the local library will not send out to other people. Whether or not your library does or does not send those things outside of the library has no effect on the patron's ability to place them on hold. The system again goes, oh, you're an adult patron and you want this item, there is a library who will send it, allow the hold. So, from a system point of view, if you don't loan new fishing poles, but you loan old fishing poles, I can't set up the system to block your patrons from placing holds on new fishing poles. If somebody's willing to send a new fishing pole through delivery, it's coming. However, what we can do, and those of you who have been around a while, and most of you have, many years ago, we thought we had figured out holds reciprocity, and we made a lot of changes in the system, only to find out that the system was broken, and if any library didn't allow the hold, no one could place a hold. So that was turned on for about a day and a half, and then we turned it off because it was clearly broken. So we think it works now. It's been several releases. It should be working now. So what it would do is we'll use normal. Normal patron logs into the normal RSA CAT page, does a search for the Avengers, and goes, aha, there's the Avengers. Normal has a copy of it. They place a hold on it. If they chose the record that Normal owns, it will be placed as a local hold, not a system hold. It's different from how things work now. Most patrons, I feel, I don't know this because I don't watch patrons all the time, but most patrons, I feel, when they're logging into the Morton catalog or the Peoria catalog or whatever, they're probably not changing the default search limit to search everybody unless they don't find what they want initially. So anything that comes up when they search is going to be an item you own. You may not have any in stock right now, but you own it. Anything they would place on hold that you only allow local holds on through your catalog, as long as you own it, it's going to be placed as a local hold, so only your item can fill it. Now here's the fun part. If we go back to where I said the system doesn't know how to block your patrons from checking out things that you don't send, if the patron does an all-library search and finds a copy of the Avengers that you don't have a record attached to it, it will place it as a system-level hold because there's no way for the system to go, oh, this is a normal item and they only allow a local-level hold on it because you don't own the item, so it's never going to see that rule. My thought is that for items that are new and are local holds or group holds, if you've got branches, probably about 80 to 85% of the holds, and that is a number I pulled strictly from the air, But I'm thinking probably 85% of the holds would probably be placed as local level holds if we turn that on. The fun part would to actually do it and see what that percentage is. So it would cut down somewhat significantly on the number of items transiting around the system, and it would enforce a level of holds reciprocity for patrons that log on to the Peoria page, do a search for something, see the item come up, Peoria has a copy, they hit hold. If Peoria is only doing local holds on it, only Peoria's items can fill that hold. There's one other way that some systems are using to kind of work around this problem, and that is that every hold placed in the catalog is a local hold only, and they don't allow patrons to place holds on things that the library doesn't own. That seems like a huge step backwards to me. So yeah, so that's not something I've really considered. But I think this might, telling the system, hey, if it's something that library X only allows a local hold on, you know, make it a and you own that item, make it a local hold. That's going to cut down pretty significantly on the things that are requested from outside libraries. It's not foolproof. It doesn't stop everything, but it stops some things. And it'll be interesting to turn it on, look at the stats, see if it's a problem or not after that, and then rediscuss. Yes, we could set up new DVD, new Blu-ray, PG, PG-13, all of these new item types, but it still doesn't fix the problem, because the core of the problem is that to make your patrons circulate correctly in another library, it's a shared patron profile. So without completely changing the way you guys circulate items in your library, there is no foolproof fix to this, short of setting up scripts that say any hold placed on an item at library X that doesn't loan library X outside of its library, cancel it, which is also kind of not fair to patrons because they have no way of knowing when a hold is or is not. You know, it'd be like Russian roulette. Ooh, will this hold go through? Yes, great. Did this hold go through? It was placed, but I come in tomorrow and now it's gone. So that's also not a good fix.
So the reason we would do this is to cut down on the transiting items that are going somewhere and being sent right back?
Correct.
Is that why we're doing this?
That would,
why we would consider doing
that would be the reason to do it, yes. So
how significant is that?
I'm thinking, again, this is a number I pulled just from the air.
And money-wise?
Money-wise, I think they spend 20 cents an item that goes through delivery, 20 to 25 cents was the last thing I counted. But the vans are running. So whether we put 2 items in a van or 100 items in a van, for that purpose, it's not there, because we're not paying someone to deliver things. There's no cost benefit necessarily to not sending things. There is the benefit in it's available to somebody else because it wasn't sent out to fill that hold. And it's less confusing to a patron to put a hold on something and have it magically, mysteriously show up in the catalog as, you know, in transit or available when they look at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then at 10 o'clock in the morning, now the hold's completely gone.
You're also looking at, though, I mean, money-wise and stuff, it's, if we're going to follow the RSA policy, which, I mean, if other libraries aren't loaning certain items to us, I don't really want to loan my items to them because it's taking away from my patrons. I have to make a master list of what libraries do what, loan what, and then we have to make all of our staff learn them all and check every item that we transit to see which way it goes. And now these are some of the libraries that are doing that, and it's fine, but it's places we loan a lot to. You know, I mean, a majority of my loans go to the Peoria area, you know, like the big 10 libraries around us or whatever. So it's trying to figure out how to do that too, how to make that easier also, so it's not like, so we're not, and basically we have a lot of patrons, I have a lot of Peoria patrons, Pekin patrons, other library patrons, Morton patrons, everyone that just use our library, and I know we have some that just use your library. So are my patrons not going to be able to place holds at all now at your library? Or what do I tell the Peoria patrons that come in and check out DVDs every 2 days and constantly have holds on DVDs that are new, that we're no longer placing holds for you? How are other libraries dealing with this? Are other libraries dealing with this? Is this I know this stuff just got turned on, and we haven't been stopping any holds yet because it's something we wanted to look into, but, we try to follow the policies that we all agree to, so.
I wasn't being rude when I texted our interlibrary loan lady to say, do we discriminate against anybody because they don't send things to us? And she said, no. It comes on our pick list and we've got it. We send it to whoever. That's not how the policy is written. So I guess that was my big question. That was at least some aspects of my concerns with all of this.
And what the system can do with local holds on certain item types will not fix patron X walking into your library and saying, I want to be able to place a hold on your item.
I thought the way the policy was written, it was incumbent upon the other library not to request it.
You can't stop the patrons from doing it through the card catalog.
Well, but it wasn't incumbent upon me to not send it.
I think that is how the policy is written.
They should return it.
No, you're not getting off that easy, Nick.
I tried.
It seems like there was some discussion, and somebody's like, well, if I send it, if they see that lots of them come in, maybe they'll change their policies.
Obviously, that's not going to be the case. To be honest, depending on what library has those rules and which library follows it, it depends where it gets bounced back. If they have branches or whatever, my item might be in transit for up to a week to get there and back, and that means no one gets it,
And I think part of the problem arises, Elizabeth, is that it's the fact that the patrons can place a hold on it, and the staff has no way of knowing the patrons place a hold on it. So.
And because we don't enforce item types on you guys, which again, that's another workaround for this, is to have, every video that comes in that was published, or released in January is new DVD until July. Somebody may catalog it as new DVD and someone else may just catalog it as DVD. If it's cataloged as just DVD, it's not the system doesn't know that it's a new item. So now this would actually stop it if it was on the same record. No, you wouldn't.
So we wouldn't know we weren't supposed to have it because it wouldn't have been cataloged as new when we got it.
Yeah. So I don't know what the answers are to Nick's, patron walking in or Nick's patron going someplace else. That's, you guys get to figure that out. Because I don't have to deal with patrons, so unless they figure out what my phone number is, and then I do get to deal with them.
Can we
but
get
from
that
the
out?
system side, what we could do on the system side is turn on local holds enforced on patron holds only for those item types that you're doing local holds on, and you own a copy of, and they place the hold on that record, and look and see what happens. See how many, of those holds are placed versus system-wide holds. Did this help enough to maybe mitigate the problem, or is it something that maybe we want to talk on for standards for the whole system? Hello, Devil.
Hi.
You have red hair.
My patron is searching for Avengers.
Yes.
They don't own it yet. Patron places hold. Library gets Avengers a week later. That's the whole thing.
Yes. Because if the patron picks a record that your item is attached to, then the hold rule would be workable. If the patron picks a record that you don't own, and that would be this case, then it's a system-wide hold. And nothing can be done about that because somebody's willing to lend it.
Is there any way when you go to discharge the item that something could tell you they don't allow this to go in transit?
No.
No, there's no check for that. The whole idea of the system is to get materials to the patrons as quickly as possible, and it doesn't. The system isn't worried if you don't want to loan it. The system only cares about getting it to the patron.
Okay, there's all kinds of things out here. Kiwani sends it if it's on the pick list. Usually they turn around and return it. Beth says Lillian Evans sends it. Sarah Snyder says they send it.
Yeah, most people do send it.
Beth says I vote to turn it on. Sarah says I vote everyone has to loan everything. Problem solved. Just kidding. I vote to turn it on. And Beth says Elizabeth is correct. The onerous is on the library with the restrictions. But the restricted library is expected to follow the rules and notify their patrons why the hold was not filled.
Yeah.
Does the pick list, I don't do the pick list very often. Do they tell us what library is requesting that?
Yeah. Well, the pickup library, yeah.
Yeah.
So I get my pick list. I could tell if a normal patron. Sorry to keep picking on you. But you're handy.
Let's see if I can find it.
So you could instruct your people.
You could, but
Say,
here's where the problems start. What is new to you? What is new to Peoria? What is new to Pekin? What is new to Normal? Everybody's times are different. If you don't use the new thing at all, everything's just a DVD for you, then you're not going to know. It's not even going to occur to you, oh, this is a DVD, then it's only been out for 2 months. Maybe that's a DVD new at this other library who I'm sending it to. That's too much math to have to do in your brain when you're
And
pulling a pick list.
And then you have me who says, if it doesn't check out in the first 7 days after it hits the shelf, it becomes a book. 14 days. It becomes a book. You have 2 weeks to get it. If it's been checking out but it's been on the shelf for at least a week, it becomes a book. At 3 months, it becomes a book, period. And so that would be a whole lot of math.
Yeah.
It's not very popular in my library. I could be sending it out 2 weeks from the being in the door.
Well, and the other thing to throw into this mix too is that there are libraries that have one person that's in charge of interlibrary loans, and there are libraries that have multiple people that take care of interlibrary.
Yeah, I have 13 people that do transit.
Yeah, so.
I have 5, but that's because I have 5 people.
So I was thinking nothing.
So, it's, to me, there's not an easy answer, but maybe what Kendall's talking about.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see that turn.
There's some mitigation we can do at the system level. It's not foolproof. But it.
Turn it on and see how it works.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
And everybody else, it's incumbent upon them that if there are things that you don't loan, you need to send them back.
like communicate that to all the people that are not at this meeting.
Well,
we'll talk. It's going to be talked about at the users group.
This will be a recommendation for users group. But yeah.
There will still be libraries that won't present.
Oh yeah.
Their people are reading.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about this particular thing is, it's.
But you know,
it's behind the scenes. It doesn't affect circ staff in this way. When you look in RSA CAT will not tell you if it is a copy level, a local level, or a system level hold. It will just tell you you have a hold. So the patron will not notice anything, except that it takes longer to fill that hold. From the library staff point of view, the only way you would know that something is a local fill versus a system fill is to kind of go in and look at each of those individual holds. Things just won't appear on your pick list that may have previously. So
You're saying it's going to be a longer time to get hold. Is that
For-
what you want to do?
for libraries that don't send out
Certain item types.
an item type, it probably will take longer to fill all of the holds on that library's items because only that library's items can fill those holds. Yes.
But it won't really affect, because if they're not loaning to us in the first place,
Well,
it's not.
It's not going to affect
There's no
you.
change there,
No.
no.
Well,
In fact, your patrons probably would get the item a little bit quicker because it won't, even if it just goes in transit and comes right back and that only takes 3 days, that's still 3 days it could have been checked out to somebody.
well, and you have like all of Peoria patrons won't be pulling our items and we not getting there, so like that will get them to all of our patrons faster too. I mean, I ideally if everyone just shared everything, that would be, but.
Well, from my perspective, Nick, the reason I didn't is I have this new whole shelf and people look at it, oh, you don't have any new books. Half of the new books are already checked out. I have lots of new books. If I sent everything immediately, they'd be like,
Oh, I'm right there with you.
so I wanted a little bit of browsing.
I understand that.
And the fix, if you will, to this is that everybody catalog anything new for X amount of time. That's the fix. And then nobody loans new items outside of their library. But fall down to that is patrons are still placing holds on them, thinking they're going to come because the system can't stop that. Yeah, and unless everybody is on the exact same, and that would include schools, because any school that loans to a public, they would also have to follow the same, new book is a new book for X amount of time. The only way to solve this issue is for some standards, i.e. everybody's doing it the same way.
My 3 levels of new books works well for me, but I am very small. She gets a short list every Tuesday and changes those things. It would never work that way unless you did just somewhere well, actually the discharge one, it would never work that way at Peoria because you couldn't do the item group editor. Because you can't do that on discharge day.
If we do turn on the hold of reciprocity, will there be any impact of pickup library?
Okay, shouldn't be.
Okay, good.
Except, this is the wonder of holds. It's so complicated. There shouldn't be except. There's always an except, and I will always say I think, because Lord knows it's electronics and you never know for sure. Patron A from library A loans everything, places a hold, picks up at library B that doesn't loan everything. If it's an item type that library B will lend, it may come from library B, since that's the pickup library. If it's a library type library B will not fill the hold for, it'll come from another library to be picked up at library B, because that's where the patron wants to pick it up. So your item can still fill the hold at library B.
What I was trying to...
Going the other direction, this is what you want to know.
Yeah, I think so.
Patron from library B places a hold on something that library B only fills locally. Library B's patron's hold will be a local hold on that item that library B owns, but they want to pick it up at library A. It should tell the library, send it to library A, because that's where the patron wants to pick it up. This is where the confusion, thank you for asking that. That will be confusing to you guys, because you'll go, well, we don't send these things out. That happens now. We occasionally get phone calls about why is my item being transited, and generally we look and it's because your patron wanted to pick it up someplace else, and so the system doesn't care. But it's using your item to fill the hold, because those are the only ones that are eligible to fill that hold. But it's just sending it to another library to pick up.
Wow.
I mean, with that, I'm a Pekin patron, but I place my holds and haven't sent the fond last. it's easier for me to stop at Fond du Lac on my way home.
It'd be easier to walk out there, technically.
Yeah, technically, yeah. It's easier for me to wait for Russ to walk in the
With your hold.
Yes, yes, but like if I want to go in a library and visit a library, I tend to go to Fond du Lac, so. And I know I've placed holds for things that Pekin doesn't loan out to others, and it gets sent to Fond du Lac. Yeah, hard to
So just as a general consensus is there room, is there anyone who has concerns that if we turn that on? Or does everybody think, at least for a testing period, that's probably something we would probably want to try?
During testing period. Just to see what happens.
Because it's one of those things that we can't simulate. We have to turn it on to find out what the numbers are going to be. Because there's no way to guess at this point. Because I can't take, there's no report I can run that will show me holds that would not have been filled due to item type things because we don't use the same item types. So I can't run a hold of, say, Peoria patrons requesting, what, DVD new now, is that? DVD new or new book?
DVD new.
So I can't run a report that says, show me everything that's DVD new or new book that Peoria patrons placed on hold that came from other libraries, because, again, we're talking, every hold is a title level hold. So I would have to be able to guess all of the various item types that were on that record. There's no way to run a report that will show us that data. If we turn it on, we're going to know real quickly how many holds are local holds versus system holds, because that is something I think we can get counts on.
Because the system will make it a local.
Yes. The system will make it a local hold if it's an item that library only does local holds on, and it's a record that library owns an item on.
For what it's worth, if we turn it on and it goes bad, it can't be worse than the last time we turned it on.
No, it's got to work better than the last time we turned it on, because there was a couple of days there where we just could not explain why holds were not being placed.
It's kind of like out in Chatland, they're all saying turn it on. Everybody that's responded.
And it kind of works the same way that if you don't allow holds on an item type now, or if you're one of the libraries that doesn't allow local holds, that impacts the patron. If you don't allow holds on things that are on your shelf, anything that you own on a record that you own, if it's available, the patron can't place a hold on it, which is really confusing to patrons. This would be far less confusing because it would at least allow the hold. The patron just wouldn't know that it's going to take longer to get filled is all.
Well, that was fun.
Well, I'm not sure you got all your questions answered, Nick, but...
No, but this is going to help at least a little.
Okay.
Brought up a good bunch of stuff.
I'd like to know if other people have, like, their patron, like, if this comes up at the other libraries, though, with, you know...
Walk-in patrons?
Yeah. If...
No.
So,
Yeah, like Rhonda back there that gets things picked up at your library.
well, we have, we have a lot of different libraries a lot of patrons from different libraries that do that just because we're centrally located.
Sure.
Sure.
We're new? I don't know.
And this is...
Never have walk-in.
I gotta say, this is a bigger problem in this area because there are so many libraries in one geographic area where, like Elizabeth says, she doesn't have that problem where she is, you know. So part of it has to do with the geographic area that we're in right now.
Well, and it's not just that there are a lot of libraries, but there's also the Caterpillars down here. So some of my patrons walk into various Peoria libraries and such stuff.
Here.
This has to go to users group before it's turned on.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what
that is
12?
No, it's the first Thursday in February. 5th, 4th of...
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe start running a daily report now that shows this is how many local holds, this is how many system holds are created each day.
Good idea.
That once it's turned on, you can see how
Oh, yeah. There are... I'll have to even look and see. I don't even really look at how many local holds get placed because there's so few.
But that,
She said it might have something to compare
Yeah,
it
we would
to.
have, we'd have some comparables. Yeah. Because that number should go the day we turn it on.
Okay. Beth says if I purchase something, I want it to check out, period. Sarah said, I agree with Beth. Our mission is to make sure all patrons get the items they would like, so loan it out. If my patron comes in and wants book A and it's out on transit, I'll put a hold on it so that when it comes back, they get it. Going to turn it on. Another turn it on and see how it works. So it pretty much appears turn it on is the answer. So
Nothing is not free.
Okay, Kendall, you want to talk about Blue Cloud?
No.
Visibility?
How many of you were here this morning?
Not everybody. Or do you want the computer so you can show anything?
Okay, Blue Cloud Visibility. I'll give you the short condensed version. So I can go back and work on setting up Blue Cloud Visibility, which is what I was doing before I came in here. Blue Cloud Visibility is Cersei Dynex speak for linked data. Linked data was developed by Library of Congress and Zafira as a new way to do MARC data. The nice thing for you guys, I'm going to tell you some wonderful things. Nothing changes for you. You continue to catalog things the way you catalog them, and this just happens as if by magic. So what linked data is it takes the MARC data and it says this is an author, this is a title, this is a call number, here are pertinent facts about this work, here's the pub date, here's the ISBN, and it just throws all that stuff out and just kind of a database. And then it says, all right, well, this title was written by this author, but this author has written all of these titles, and these titles were all published in the following pub years, but everything else that was published in this pub year, it all links like that, right? So everything in a MARC record becomes a little individual bit of data that just sits out there and waits for Google, Bing, Yahoo. There's a term for all three of those big search engines, Google who or something. But the search engines will say, oh, somebody searched for Molly Brown, right? What do I know about Molly Brown? Well, I know Molly Brown was on the Titanic. There are books about Molly Brown. Those books, and then it goes Molly Brown, books about Molly Brown, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Oh, look, I know libraries have books about Molly Brown. I'm going to return those results as well. So it takes all of this as people are typing their questions into Google. You guys know, you start typing into Google and Google sort of magically knows what you want because 5 billion other people do the exact same thing. And it starts building search results and a knowledge graph over on the right-hand side with pertinent facts. So if I want to buy a new washer and dryer, I start typing in Maytag. Over on the right-hand side, I see Best Buy, and it starts, it's got my local Best Buy, the hours it's open, the telephone call, the price of that particular washer and dryer. Works the same way with library materials. Once they're in the internet and once they've been cataloged, and once Google finds them, and there's enough libraries in your region that are all contributing data. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to turn this on. It's going to take a little while before it starts getting pulled. The really wonderful thing about this is this makes everything that's in our catalog right now is proprietary. If I don't have a connection into our database, I can't see the data. Once we do this, the data for all of your items is going to be sitting out on the internet, and anybody who's a developer can use that data to write apps. So let's say you have some enterprising college student that wants to come up with a new way to replace Blockbuster with free movies from libraries. Well, they could simply write an app that would hit these data warehouses and populate, oh, based on where you're at, here's the libraries around you, here's all the movies they have, here are the categories of the movies, find what you want, and then it tells you how to get there, or it just sends you right to the library page to put it on hold and pick it up. So that's what can happen with this data. So for now, what will happen, somebody searched The Martian by Andy Weir. So here's IMDb, here's the novel, here's news about The Martian. Over here on this side, there's the book for The Martian with the Amazon and Barnes & Noble links. And then here's the digital downloads from the library collaboration. Boy, even with the bifocals, that's small text. And the Ohio Digital Library is right below that, and then Overdrive. So it's starting to take that data and instead of just showing you commercial options, showing you library options as well. As time goes on, like I said, that could, if you're in the Peoria area, there's a lot of libraries around here that are all in RSA. All of your data will be in the internet. If I type The Martian, I would expect to see the close libraries to me, wherever I'm located in RSA, pop up with links into RSA Cat that would open to The Martian, and maybe over on this side, things like your library name and hours and address, and where you're at on the map, which is what I'm inputting right now. And some of you are very hard to find on Google Maps. At lunchtime, I was still trying to find Danvers. Danvers Street View does not show Danvers Library, and I know what that library looks like. I went on Street View, but Street View didn't have the right road. It had the road that goes this way, and I couldn't figure out if the Street View was that light. Anyway, so I'm putting in your hours, your contact information, linking your library on a Google map. So when the search happens, all of that information is available, and everybody knows Google and Yahoo and Bing start locally and then build out when they give you search results. So they need to know where you're at.
And what is it called again on the right-hand side?
That's called a knowledge graph on those search engines. So Circe Dynix started talking about this April-ish last year with Zafira. They literally, Zafira had just figured it out for Library of Congress. Circe Dynix said, is this something we want to do? And if so, how can we do it? So they started talking. They came up with a product and a way to do this. Towards the end of last year, they said, hey, all you big consortia, we have a product that's coming. Do you want to get in early on this product? So at the November meeting, the RSA board voted, yes, we want to do this. This is something that we want to get our data out there. So I'm finishing up. I have, I think, 9 or 10 more emails to input, and then I've got to go back through and flesh out those who didn't answer me, and or put your library on a list that says you did not contact me and publicly shame you with an email. Nobody in here, I'm sure, didn't send me information. So once that's all done, they will pull the data. It gets refreshed on the first and third Thursday of the month, I believe, at like 8 a.m. our time. So even if you didn't send me your data, or your contact email changes, or you move your library, or your phone number changes, if you let me know, I can just go in and fix it on the back end. And 2 weeks later, all of your data will be refreshed, all your new records will be included, plus all the corrections to your library information would be made at that point in time. You don't have to do anything. What I started out with, this is the important part, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is attach to a good brief record, or a good full record. If you attach to a brief record and all we have is a title, an author, and a call number, Google is going to ignore that in its search request, in its search building, because there's not enough there for it to link it to make it meaningful. So full MARC records, good quality MARC records are becoming even more important. One of the things that Circe Dynix is planning on doing is, since we will have this data that's been broken out in a new way versus a MARC record, is trying to figure out how to integrate that into their search product as well. The data exists. Circe has it. They had to have it to hand it over to Zafira. So if they've got all this data broken out in a different way, I can think of ways to make the catalog search better using this data broken out. They can as well. So as we move forward in time, I think this data is going to be being used for more and more things. And probably at some point in time in the far off future, after all of us have retired, MARC records will go away and they'll all be linked data. I don't think any of us will be around to have to worry about it though. So for now, all you need to know is at some point in time you'll type the Martian into Google and your library will appear as one of the search results. Should be good because that'll start driving traffic back to you.
Good. Good explanation.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
It's very hot in here.
It is terribly hot.
Would you like me to turn on the air conditioner?
I'm trying to turn off the heat or something.
Well, the heat is set at 65.
Oh, gosh.
The cooling is set at 82. I think we can fix it.
I don't know. Too many hot people in here, I think. Okay. Amanda.
I think it's amazing your cooling just got turned on after what we've just been through.
I know,
right?
and I'm probably you better remember to turn that back, because I think we're going down.
We're going back the other way.
Yeah.
At least you'll know it works.
There you go.
I'm just going to talk here really briefly about bill reasons and payment types. You can get these customized in workflows. I think, I know Pekin, your guys' have been customized for like 2 years at this point, but they can be limited if you're interested in it. You don't have to do it. The sheet that I handed out just shows what codes have to stay in the drop-down menus, including ones for user profiles, because those are just other the other drop-down menu there in search. But this document is on our committee page. See if I can where we are. The first one. Yeah. Go back. Okay.
Probably on the policy page.
Yeah, we'll go back to the committee page. Alright, so this document is listed. No. Is that it? There we go, right there, so you can find it on the website. It's just something to keep in mind. Like I said, you guys don't have to customize these. It might be nice if you know you're using them to have it shortened because the list, I mean, it's not super long, but just to at least remove the ones that you're not using. So if you're interested in that, let me know. You can send a ticket to the help desk, call, send me an email. It'll get to me and I can get that taken care of. Is there any questions?
I'm just curious, why did we never do a non-RSA YA?
I think we have one, don't we?
I think we have one. It's just not one of the mandatory ones. I think a lot of people don't use that, but
I have to check it and see.
Yeah.
Make sure
I
we
just,
check
I was
that.
looking at it, there's not a lot of non-resident YAs to begin with, but
yeah. Good question.
If there was one, I'd want one.
Yeah, okay.
When we're talking about the bill reasons and payment types, I don't know if you remember, if you don't have them customized, we still have codes in there for like fines that came over from Carl. So there's still like Carl such and such, Carl this, and then some of them even start with C, and then there's something. Those are all codes that came over from when we had and I think there's still records out there that have. Unfortunately, because when they came over, maybe the patron's gone now and the record's still in the database. But that's confusing for new staff that come in and who never knew what Carl was to start with, you know. Why are these codes in here? Why did they say Carl? So, you know, getting rid of even some of the Carl codes would help your staff, you know, I think immensely. So just let Amanda know, you know, if you'd like to customize it down. It doesn't have some of those strange codes in it that people don't have any idea what. So.
There. Any other questions? Yes? Yes?
I realize this should be obvious, but, you know, obvious is not always obvious. But I'm going to assume
assume that adult and juvenile are required to still be in as user profiles? They're not because, yeah, for adults, they should have been. They're not on the list for the public ones.
We need to add those, but those were never in the original list, so. I think maybe it's because some of them have their own, libraries have some individual user profiles that they can choose, so we can't really tell them which ones to use.
True. Okay.
Any other questions?
Wendy, would you like to update us a little bit on BC Analytics? Sure. Because Nick believes it's never going to happen.
Blue Cloud Analytics for Nick. It is real. It is alive. It's not a unicorn. We here at RSA have been using it, testing it. It's been a slow process. Creating something new is, but a lot of testing too. I mean, since we've actually gotten it, a great deal of testing. It's been slow in them importing our information in chunks to make sure that as they import things, it doesn't break things. Kendall has been running a lot of reports for some time now, comparing numbers, web reporter, director station workflows to BCA to see if every day, things are matching up. So it's really just a lot of it's been, to make hopefully it the best it can be once we roll things out. We're also now adding existing reports for web reporter, director station into BCA. It's not something that CRC can magically recreate the reports that we had in web reporter, director station. We have to recreate them ourselves. So that is happening. Same with subscriptions. Things if maybe you're subscribed to a web reporter currently, we're having to recreate those subscriptions in BCA. Right now, the plan is that sometime in February, at least some of the larger libraries will start to get training on how to run reports. At this point, we're not going to be really looking at having the libraries trained on creating, it'll just be running existing reports. So that's kind of the timeline. Any questions? No? If anybody wants to see anything anytime, they could always let me know. I could always show things, but I mean it's there. It's steady and slow, but it's there.
It is real.
It is real. So that's kind of the timeline now, is beginning in February. We'll start rolling some things out.
And just so everybody knows, there is a reports committee that has started. It's only met once so far. So if you are interested in this, interested in helping decide what reports are going to be created in there, you do need to attend the reports committee. The next meeting, and it is on your list of circulation meeting information under upcoming RSA events, is Thursday, January the 28th at 1 o'clock here. So.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about, in the first meeting, a lot about like the monthly reports and things like that. So if you want to be a part of that and how those end up coming out, because, again, the monthly reports will be something that will be run for everybody. So if you want to, have a hand in how those are being built, then definitely join us.
Thank you, Wendy. I did want to mention really quick that occasionally I've had questions about CERC logins, because as you're all hearing that the catalogers are getting their own individual logins, the question is, is this eventually going to happen with circulation too? And I will tell you, somewhere down the line, it is going to happen with circulation also. At this point, the individual logins will be used in circulation. They'll be used for mobile circ when that is set up so that it can use that. That will also be used eventually when we get into Blue Cloud circulation, but we figure that's probably about 2 years away yet. So it's still going to be a while for that. So this is nothing that is going to be happening really soon, but just so you know that with the what's going on with cataloging right now, we'll eventually have something similar to that in with the circulation, but no time in the immediate future, so that you know that. Let me see if there's anything else here I wanted to say really quick. So, oh, the other thing I did want to say is now with the catalogers getting their new logins, that when we get to a point when everybody in a library, as Erica's working with the different libraries, get to the point where everybody that needs a cataloging login has their cataloging login and everybody's been trained on how to use it, what we are going to do is we are going to end up completely turning off the tech login. So at that point, the only way to log into workflows will be you will be using the circulation login. So because after we give all the catalogers their own login, we turn off all the tech functions in the tech login. So basically, the Circ login and the tech login are going to be the same thing anyway. So we're just going to get rid of the tech login. If you get reports in your tech login, we will move those over to the Circ login. So to let you know, let's have a yes, Nick.
This is probably a stupid question. Will we still be able to place item notes through Circ?
Do what?
Place like item notes on the items?
Oh yeah.
I haven't used the Circ thing forever. We always use text. So I don't remember what Circ actually lets you do.
Yeah, I don't know. You should be able to place item notes on.
Okay.
Yeah, without any problem. So now, because you can even do that, I think, from checkouts. I think it's one of the. I'll do that. I think it's even one of the right-click things. Edit item note. I have note on right there, so. Well, I mean, it's just one of the options. I'm just telling you could do it there, you know, so it is something that you can do, so. Yeah, so. Okay. I did want to give you just a few library updates. As most of you know, oh, I skipped that part, didn't I? Okay. I was trying to move along as quick as possible.
Sorry.
Yes, I was going to say something about our DA and music CDs, and Erica, just pop up when I say something wrong, okay? Okay. With RDA, as most of you probably know, we used to have a different set of cataloging rules. We now have RDA, and RDA looks at the records different than we previously looked at them. So what is happening with RDA is if there's a music CD, and the music CD, I'm going to give you an example here. The person that is what we used to call like the performer on the music CD did not do anything with creating the music CD. So they did not write lyrics, they did not write music or that type of stuff. They are no longer put in the author section of the MARC record. So as you see right here with this cinema one, that there is no author right here. But in fact, you go out and look, and this was done by, oh yeah, I had to, Botticelli right here. So previous to RDA, he would have been in the author field. He is not in the author field anymore. So you're going to run into this quite a bit. Now you can do a search on him and it will bring up this record. But when you're out looking at the display, you may not see a person's name that you think you should see in there. So just make sure that you are actually looking at the record itself to see, you know, who it's by. So what else do you want to say, Erica? Anything about that?
How it looks in the RSA cat, the frontline staff, you might get questions from the trained, so it might not hurt just to show how it looks.
Yeah, I'm going to show you how it looks in the RSA cat.
It doesn't read. be probably expecting that, even though it's a new rule. You'll see it done inconsistently, I think, even on the new.
So this is what it's going to look like out in RSA CAP. Just see right here, it does have the title. This is it's considered an added author here. If previously he would have just been author, he wouldn't have been added author right here. So
really, it's a different label there. Like I said, it's inconsistent. So the display there is more dramatic, since it does show that author's home is
yeah. Yeah, it does show it blank, and I think that's going to be a little confusing because, you know, people are going to look at this and say, well, this is something called cinema, but it's not by, you know, who I thought it was by. Well, you're going to have to actually go to the record and look, or do the search by the author or by this person instead of by the title. So just wanted to let you know how it appears out there in Workflows land. So, okay. Thank you for reminding me of that. I skipped right over it. I tend to skip over things. So, okay, back to some quick library membership updates. Since December 1st, Blackhawk College is no longer placing holds or accepting holds. They are supposed to be moving to Carly. Saying that's supposed to be moving to Carly, we anticipate that it will be the end of the fiscal year, which will be the last of June. So Warren County is now circulating and placing holds, so I'm sure you've seen holds coming and going to them. They seem to be very busy with that right now, so I think they are really excited about the way this is working. If you remember right, when we first started doing ADML, maybe, Warren County became an ADML member, and we put their users in the database. We let them put their users in the database, but their numbers all started with a P. So you're still going to see a lot of those P numbers out there. We have to wait until everything is mapped between those P numbers and like Overdrive and eRead Illinois, so that they don't lose their holds and that type of stuff. But as soon as we have a message saying that this is all done, then RSA is going to go out there and completely remove those all in one, you know, one report or whatever we have to do, remove those. So eventually those P numbers are going away, but RSA is removing them, so they're no longer there. So IBC High School has been an RSA member for a long time. Their elementaries and junior highs have become RSA members. They've been circulating for a little while. I just did holds training, so you may begin seeing holds from some of the elementary schools and junior highs in the Chillicothe area. McQuan is circulating. I'm going to be going next week and doing holds training on McQuan. So those of you that end up with McQuan being one of your problems on the union list hold list, well, that will be coming to an end. Amanda's going like that there. And Avon Public and Valley Public are still working on entering their items into the database, so we have not even scheduled circulation training with them, so I'm not quite sure when that will be, but it'll still be a little while on them. So on the RSA webpage, I did update the, and just so you all even know it's out there, we do have in the system info and support page under system parameters, and you might want to just have a copy of this so you know, down at the very bottom under other parameters, we have a list of item barcode prefixes. So you would be able to tell just by the prefix what library an item is from. And then we also have a patron barcode prefix document just like that. So those have both been updated within the last couple of months. So Warren County and McQuan, McQuan, some of those that weren't on there are now included on there. Dwight High School got removed from there since they're no longer RSA members. So. Okay, RSA membership list has been updated, so that should be up to date now. Circ map, hold map, if you ever refer to any of those have been updated recently. They had not been updated for a while, so those are all updated. And then I just wanted to ask a quick question, because over here where we have RSA membership, we do have a interlibrary loan contact list. How many of you people actually use this? This is a list that lists contact person. We've had this list for a really, really long time. It's not really up to date. So I guess I want to know, are people really using this? Because
I look in L2,
you look in L2?
which may be out of date too, but that's where I look, so.
Yeah, I didn't know if, does anybody use this list at all? No? Okay.
Somebody
Peoria contact on you, because
have an
I
I
get a lot.
Our ILL isn't here.
Okay, so you're not really sure, and you said what? But you use it normal? Okay. Well, yeah, this is just one of those projects I'm wondering if the operations department needs to work on and try to update it. So I just was wondering how many people are actually using this. Did anybody out in say they were using it out?
Oh, sorry. I've had one. No, use L2. Use L2.
Everybody uses L2. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
There's a current membership list in the
No, it's under, if you see right here, if you go under here, it's just under RSA membership.
Oh, okay.
You click on that right there. It has been updated as of the 4th, so it's pretty up to date. You can print it off if you want to.
Does it have phone numbers and fax numbers?
No. That's what you use L2 for.
Okay.
I did list upcoming events going on at RSA. I do have a holds workshop coming up later this month, a circulation holds workshop next month. RSA users group is next month, so just some of those updates on your list. For just really quick Rails update, I know they've been talking about the overlay project. Right now they have put that on hold because there are some other projects that are more important that they're dealing with. The website redesign, I don't know if you're going out to the Rails website. Every time you go out there anymore, it pops up with a little box that is a survey. Elizabeth's growling about it. What we suggest you do is just fill it out once, and the next time just hit the X and
The way that gets me is, would you recommend this to a friend? Know the people who need to know about it. If I had, if there was a new librarian in Lincoln, I might recommend it to her, but that's really
that's not a friend. The website is supposedly, the new website is supposed to be completed by the end of June. So by the end of June, you should be seeing a new Rails website. So also listed a bunch of CE opportunities that are coming up at Rails, and you might look through that and see if there's anything that you might be interested in, or maybe some of your staff might be interested in. There's quite a few things that I thought could be, yes.
Dee and Jane will be at Users Group.
Oh, I forgot about that. Dee and Jane, Dee the director and Jane the assistant director of Rails will be at Users Group in February. So just so you know that, if you want to come and meet.
A lot of people to come then? Because I know
It would be nice
It would be nice, yes.
having people here.
So, okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure Kendall will send out a message and beg people to come and fill up the room. But yes, if we get as many people as possible. So, do the other search here?
Is there any other search business?
Just some. Okay. The only other thing is, when we get, we have another meeting come up in May right here. What I thought would be kind of interesting is if any of you have any workflows, tips and tricks things that you're doing that you think other people might not know about, you know, if you could bring that, maybe share them, and we'll do a kind of a tips and trick session in our next meeting. So I thought that would be kind of interesting to see what people might come up with. So sometimes you're doing things some way and somebody else sees it and they go, oh my gosh, I really like to do it that way too. Okay. Are we adjourned?
We adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
I don't know.